Nice to be back. But it's also nice to be sort of on stage in the, taking on a different role. Whereas in the previous years, I was sort of downstairs, supervising what's needs to be going on. But then today, I'm actually taking a participating role and to actually do the workshop, and now with the honor to actually come back and do the closing. And I know time is running short, but Mr. Shah, I thoroughly enjoyed your session. And in fact, we have a lot of joy, following your presentation, and there's no pain at all. Now, to do this, I think I just quickly summarize or wrap up what we have heard today from Professor John Williams and also from Mrs. Shah. And in fact, today, John talks about good teaching practices, and it brings along effective learning. And all this applies to all the disciplines, all the key learning areas. And we're using the very popular word today now called STREAM, which is science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And also we have STEAM, we have STEM, etc. And in fact, from what he has shared with us earlier in this afternoon, he actually mentioned a number of major key principles. And of this, we can see that it's basically talking about that the learning students, they have to have active involvement. It's got to be meaningful interaction between the teachers and the students. We have to empower the students. We have different roles leading to learning, and this actually brings in diversity. We expect a lot more to be done, and we hope to achieve more. But actually, then we need to actually aim high. However, we have to actually work on it in a small step, by step, and that is to make it possible. And the teachers and the students need to cooperate and collaborate together in order to make sense of the meaning teaching materials, so that they can actually learn through practice, and then learn the conceptual theories, learn from specific to the actual principles. And we need to give feedback to the students in order to sustain teaching and learning. And by this, as a teacher, we cannot actually be working on ourselves. We need to work together, and in order to make teaching more to have a enjoyable experience, and to enhance students' learning. And with Mrs. Cha, and from the story of Chen Ji, we can actually see how he progressed from the painful yesterday and coming to today with growing growing in confidence, and I'm sure that his future will be very bright. And this, apart from the effort made by the students, it also we can see that we can see that it's the teachers helping the students to come up with a bright future. And through this, we can see that the teachers must be empowered or injected with innovative pedagogies, and so as to bring authentic, meaningful learning experience, real experience to the students and to make the future life. And this, of course, Mrs. Cha mentioned about the competence for the 21st century, and with good learning outcome from the students, and also with teachers becoming very useful ethical leaders, competent teachers, and so I've got five of them here. And also to have a quick recap on what we have gone through in March, when we had another teacher education symposium, and of course Mrs. Cha was also there, and together with Mrs. Cha we have Lee Shulman, we have Andy Hargreaves, we have Pasi, and they all talk about different things in order to help the teachers to see how we teachers we need to reimagine ourselves in order to make ourselves powerful, and to support the profession. And so that's a quick summary. And with that, I can see that based on what we have heard from today's, from what John and Mrs. Chung has been shared with us what we have learned from the March Symposium, together with the workshop presentation that many teachers did and principals that they've just done in the early part of the afternoon. We can see that it is all about reflection on how to make all these principles and all these competence, all the outcomes sort of real for the students to experience meaningful learning and to prepare them for the future. And with that, I would like to share with you two of the slides that I've just used in the workshop that I did with my partner, Pat. And we're looking at different types of inquiry, because sort of you can see that when we prepare the students for future, we cannot just tell them things, we cannot just sort of give information to them. Rather, we have to help the students to inquire. And that we have different types, different forms, different degrees of inquiry. So I would like to sort of ask the teachers to think of their sort of current teaching scenarios, current teaching experience, to decide whether they are on the lower end of the inquiry platform, or whether they are on the upper end. And with that, they will have a framework to actually help themselves to make progress. So we're talking about the process to make progress, but it also applies to teachers, that we also need to make sure that our teaching process with the students, that we also need to progress ourselves. And with that, I actually integrated it with students' self-directed learning. And so you can see that with that, we have all the different stages of inquiry, which actually prepare students with different degree of self-directed learning. Of course, the more the better. And I truly, honestly believe that nowadays, I hope, at least in this theatre and also in Hong Kong, we don't have teachers sort of sitting on this end. Okay, we are hoping that more and more of the teachers will move over to the other end, so as to help the students to be able to really do inquiry by themselves, whereas the teachers only act as facilitators, co-learner, and consultant to the students, rather than acting as knowledge transmitters. And so with that, you can see that we are not asking the teachers to work by themselves. Okay, now, of course, if you choose to work by yourself, fine, but probably you will experience more pain and more frustration, and you find that you're not able to do that many. But like what Mrs. Chia had just showed, play the game with John, with one ball, and then another ball acting onto it, and it turns out to be many more balls for us to share. So we need partnership. And with that, to make today's themes and also today's symposium possible, we have to rely on collaborative partnership, or as Andy Hargreaves has mentioned, is collaborative professionalism. And this needs to be done among the teachers, among the students, between the teachers and the students, and the teachers and the school principals, and the schools and the Education Bureau, and the schools and the university teacher education providers, and among all the relevant stakeholders. And we have to do this as much as possible, and that we are no longer the lone fighters in this era of education reform and change, but we are pulling all our strength and gifted talents together and work towards the better world for future. And of course, my portfolio was, and we still have partnerships here, so this is the key word, all right? And I can see that we're all talking about 3C, with Mrs. Chia, you're talking about the calling with planning, the continuing education with passion, courage with purpose, and also we have 4H emphasized by Professor Lee Shulman, and also 4P, and so on. So I would also like to sort of make this an acronym with partnership. So can you sort of help me to make this word with P? What word would you think of? Any suggestion? Passion. Okay. But I put it's up to you, but I have professionalism, and professionalism comes along with positive attitudes. And this, we all need to take responsibility. And we need to have a clear target in order to nurture the students and come up with sort of empowerment to help the students to grow stronger. And with that, we have to be reflective, and so as to make sure that all our work can sustain. So as again, Mrs. Chan said that she has to go back to the ministry, and but then the school can still carry on. And in a way that I've been in this position of school-university partnership for 10 years, but I still have to say goodbye. And this year when I come back, I'm so happy that instead of sending the teachers out to school doing 1 day per week attachment, now we are doing two days per week. So I mean, this someone comes, someone goes, and it is not the end of the world. But we need to make things sustainable, and to work with a humble attitude in order to, and so again, we need to interact and we participate, and finally we make it a symbiosis process in order to make school-university partnership work. So that's all. And I thank you very much. Thanks to the Faculty of Education to bring me back, give me a very good chance to travel, and I hope to see you in the future.